I failed 9 times in business. The 10th made me a millionaire. That's the story I told myself when I was sleeping in my car behind a gym, wearing the same button down for 3 days straight. My name is Christopher. I'm 42. I used to have a wife, a daughter, and a storage unit full of dreams that didn't sell. People think homelessness happens all at once. It doesn't. It happens in 9 slow collapses, each one teaching you that the next try will be different. I kept score like it mattered. I kept moving like motion meant progress. Then I walked into a casino on a Tuesday afternoon with $300 and a loan shark who said I had a good face for cards. I thought I was chasing success. I was chasing proof I wasn't a failure. The 10th time didn't make me rich. It made me realize I'd been gambling long before I sat down at that table. When a man keeps betting on himself and loses everything but his car, what's left to wager? His future, his family, or the truth he can't say out loud? I woke up at 5:47 a.m. to the sound of my phone alarm. The same ringtone I'd used for 3 years when I still had a bedroom to wake up in. Now it echoed off the ceiling of my Honda Civic, and for a few seconds I forgot where I was. Then I felt the steering wheel against my hip and remembered 0.3 weeks. That's how long I'd been sleeping in this parking lot. The gym was a 24-hour place called PowerFit, brick building with purple neon in the windows. I'd joined back when I had the juice bar, telling myself I'd work out before opening the shop each morning. That lasted 2 weeks. But I kept the membership because it was only $29 a month, and now it was the only address I had that wasn't my car. The only place I could shower. The only reason I didn't look like what I actually was that I sat up and checked my phone. Battery at 18%. Bank balance at $340.16. 3 texts from my brother Marcus that I hadn't opened yet. 2 voicemails from numbers I didn't recognize, which meant collection agencies. Which meant I'd delete them without listening like I had every morning for the past 6 weeks. The parking lot was half full. Early gym people in their cars, sipping coffee, checking phones before heading inside. A woman in scrubs. A guy in a tie. People with routines and places to be. I tried to look like I was one of them, just a member who got here early, checking messages before a workout. Not someone who'd been here all night with the windows cracked and a sweatshirt balled up against the door for a pillow to. I grabbed my duffel bag from the passenger seat. Inside was everything I owned that mattered. 3 button-down shirts. 2 pairs of jeans, deodorant, toothbrush, phone charger, laptop in a padded sleeve, and a Ziploc bag with my birth certificate and social security card. The second duffel in the trunk had underwear, socks, and a winter coat I hoped I wouldn't need. The air outside was cool, that early fall kind of morning where you could still smell summer dying. I locked the car and walked across the lot toward the entrance, trying to look normal, confident, like I had somewhere to go after this. Inside, the gym smelled like rubber mats and air freshener. Pop music played through ceiling speakers. The front desk guy, maybe 22, name tag said Bryce, glanced up and nodded. He'd seen me every morning for 3 weeks and never asked why I was always here before 6. I nodded back and swiped my key card. The locker room was empty. I picked a corner locker, the same one I'd been using, and set my bag on the bench. There was a ritual to this now. Strip down. Flip-flops from the bag. Walk to the showers with a towel wrapped around my waist like I wasn't carrying my entire hygiene routine in one hand. The water was hot. I stood under it longer than I should have, letting it beat against my neck and shoulders. There was a knot between my shoulder blades from sleeping in the car, and I tried to work it out with my fingers, but it wouldn't budge. I washed my hair, soaped up, stood there thinking about nothing because thinking led to lists, and lists led to math I didn't want to do. $87. That's what I needed by Friday to keep the storage unit from going to auction. $340 in checking, which meant I had enough if I didn't eat much or put gas in the car. But I needed gas to get to jobs, and I needed jobs to make money. And around. I turned off the water. Back at the locker, I dried off and got dressed. Same button-down I'd worn yesterday, light blue with a collar that was starting to fray at the tips. I'd bought it 4 years ago for business number 5, the e-commerce site that never got traffic. Back then I thought dressing sharp meant something. Now it just meant I still had one shirt that didn't look like I slept in it. I shaved at the sink, careful around my jawline, where I'd cut myself 2 days ago, and the scab was still healing. There was a guy at the other sink, older, maybe 60, electric razor in his hand. He caught my eye in the mirror and nodded. I nodded back, wondered if he could tell. Wondered if it was obvious, why the time I walked out it was 6:20. The gym was filling up now, treadmills occupied, weights clanking, everyone moving with purpose. I sat on a bench near the entrance and opened my phone. Checked the day labor app I'd been using for 3 weeks. 2 jobs posted in my area. Moving furniture, 8 to noon, $60 cash. Cleaning out a garage, 9 to 5, $85. I clicked the furniture job and accepted it. Starting in 90 minutes. Enough time to sit in the car and decide whether to open Marcus's text that I stood and walked toward the exit. Bryce was helping someone at the desk. I kept my head down and pushed through the door into the parking lot. That's when I saw him. Not Marcus, but an employee I recognized. Derek, one of the trainers, mid-30s, always friendly in that gym employee way. He was walking toward the building from his car, gym bag over his shoulder, and when he saw me his face did something. Not quite a smile. More like a question he didn't know how to ask. He slowed down. "Hey man, you're here early." "Yeah," I said, trying to stay consistent. He nodded, looked at my car, looked back at me. "That's good. Consistency's everything." I could feel him deciding whether to say more. I smiled like everything was fine and walked past him toward the Civic. Got in, closed the door, watched him in the rear view as he stood there for a second, then turned and went inside. I sat with my hands on the steering wheel, staring at the gym entrance. My phone buzzed. "Marcus again. Saw you at the Kroger lot last night. Call me." I locked the screen, started the car, pulled out of the lot before anyone else could look at me that way. I still had 80 minutes before the furniture job. I drove to the library 3 miles away and parked in the back corner where I always parked, under a tree where the shade kept the car cool. Opened my laptop, connected to the library Wi-Fi. Stared at my email inbox like something might have changed since yesterday. The IT hadn't done no new orders on the dropshipping site. No responses to the freelance pitches I'd sent last week. Just promotional emails and one alert from the storage facility reminding me my payment was overdue. I closed the laptop. Looked at my hands. They were clean, nails trimmed. No one looking at them would know I'd been unloading trucks and hauling trash for 3 weeks. That's what I told myself. But Derek had looked at my car. He'd done the math. I leaned back against the headrest and closed my eyes. Thought about Marcus's text. Thought about how he'd seen me in the Kroger parking lot at 2 in the morning, asleep with the windows cracked, and now he knew. He knew and he wanted me to call, which meant he wanted to help, which meant I'd have to explain, which meant I'd have to say out loud what I'd been pretending wasn't true. I wasn't homeless by choice. I wasn't between apartments. I wasn't strategizing my next move. I was 42 years old, sleeping in my car, and I didn't know how to stop falling. My phone buzzed again. Not Marcus this time. A reminder from the day labor app. Job starts in 75 minutes. Confirm arrival? I confirmed. Then I sat there in the library parking lot, windows down, listening to the sound of cars on the road, and tried to figure out how I'd make $87 by Friday without admitting I needed it to save a storage unit full of failures I should have thrown away months ago. I still had an hour before the furniture job, so I did what I always did when I had time I didn't want. I opened the photo app on my phone and scrolled back 6 months. There it was. The juice bar, bright green awning, hand-painted sign that said press in clean white letters. Little chalkboard out front listing smoothies I'd named myself. The Reboot, Green Giant, Tropical Hustle. The photo was from opening day, and I was standing in the doorway wearing a black apron, arms crossed, grinning like I'd figured something out. Like this time was different. It wasn't. I zoomed in on my face. I looked younger, lighter, like a man who still believed his own pitch. The juice bar had been business number 8. I'd signed the lease in March, 6 months ago, after business number 7, an MLM supplement thing, imploded so badly I lost 2 friends who'd bought in on my recommendation. I told myself the juice bar was different because it was brick and mortar. Real. Something people could see and touch. I'd found a spot in a strip mall on the south side, between a nail salon and a dollar store, and convinced myself the location was undervalued. It wasn't undervalued. It was cheap because no one went there. The landlord was a guy named Ron, late 50s, wore boots and a Carhartt jacket even in the heat. He'd shaken my hand in the empty space and said, "You've got vision. I can tell." I'd paid first month, last month, and a security deposit, $5,400 total. Most of it from a business credit card I'd opened 2 weeks earlier. The lease was 2 years. I lasted 4 months. The equipment came next. Commercial blender, $300. Refrigerator unit, $800. Juicer, $2,000. Display case, $1,500. I put it all on the credit card and told myself I'd pay it off in 6 months once the revenue started flowing. I made spreadsheets. Projected 50 customers a day within 3 months. Smoothies priced at $7 each. I did the math over and over, and every time it worked. Then I opened the doors. 11 people came the first day. 11. I gave out samples. Smiled. Explained the menu. 3 of them bought something. The rest said they'd come back and didn't. Jennifer came by after work that first week. She stood at the counter and ordered a green giant, and I made it for her like she was a real customer, not my wife checking to see if I was failing yet. She took a sip and said it was good. I said, "It'll pick up." She nodded. Didn't argue. That's when I knew she didn't believe me anymore. The strip mall had no foot traffic. The parking lot flooded when it rained, which it did twice a week that spring, and on those days no one came at all. I started running Facebook ads. $50 a day, then $100. I got clicks, but they didn't turn into customers. I handed out flyers at the gym, put up posters at the college, offered a free smoothie with any purchase over $10, which meant I was paying people to try my product. By month 2, I was losing $1,200 a week. Jennifer stopped asking how it was going. She'd come home from her job, medical billing at a clinic, steady paycheck, benefits, and I'd still be at the shop, sitting on a stool behind the counter, laptop open, trying to figure out what I was doing wrong. She'd text, "When are you coming home?" I'd text back, "Soon." Then I'd stay another 2 hours, blending smoothies no one ordered. Because going home meant admitting the day was over and nothing had changed. Month 3, the credit card hit its limit. $15,000. I applied for another one and got declined. I asked my brother Marcus for a loan, $5,000, just to cover inventory and rent until things picked up, and he said yes. But his voice on the phone sounded tired, like he'd heard this before. Because he had. Business number 3. Business number 5. Every time I said, "just until things pick up," and every time things didn't pick up, and every time I paid him back late or not at all. I paid him back that time. Took me 7 months, but I did it. I wanted him to know I wasn't that guy. Except I was. Month 4, Jennifer stopped coming to the shop. Stopped asking questions. She'd sit at the kitchen table after dinner and look at her phone, and I'd sit across from her looking at mine. And neither of us said what we were both thinking. The day I knew it was over. I was standing behind the counter at 7 in the evening on a Thursday. It was raining. The parking lot was a small lake. I'd had 4 customers all day. 4. I'd made a smoothie for myself just to feel like the equipment was being used. And I stood there drinking it, watching my reflection in the dark window. And I thought, I've done this 8 times. 8 different businesses. 8 different plans. And I still don't know what I'm doing. That's the thought I couldn't say out loud. Not to Jennifer. Not to Marcus. Not even to myself most days. But standing there in the empty shop, blender humming behind me, rain drumming on the awning, I knew. I closed the shop 2 weeks later. Didn't tell Ron, the landlord, until the day I turned in the keys. He called me every day for a month asking for the remaining rent on the lease. 18 months at $1,100 a month. Almost $20,000 I didn't have. I stopped answering. Let it go to collections. Added it to the pile. Jennifer left 3 weeks after that. Packed 2 suitcases, loaded Mia into the car, and drove to her sister's place in Oregon. She didn't yell. Didn't cry. Just said, "I can't do this anymore, Chris." I asked what this meant. She looked at me for a long time and said, "Watching you drown." I signed the divorce papers in a Starbucks bathroom 6 weeks later because I didn't have an address for the lawyer to mail them to. I used the sink counter as a desk. Signed my name on 4 pages. Mailed them back in a manila envelope I bought at Walgreens. That was 6 months ago. Now I was sitting in a library parking lot, looking at a photo of myself in a black apron, grinning like an idiot, and wondering what the hell I'd been so happy about. I closed the photo app. Opened my bank account. Still $340. I needed 87 by Friday. The furniture job today paid 60. That left 27. I could do another job tomorrow. Maybe 2. If I didn't eat much. If I didn't drive much. If nothing went wrong. My phone buzzed. The day labor app job starts in 30 minutes. Navigate now? I tapped yes. Put the phone in the cup holder. Started the car. The address was a townhouse 15 minutes away, a new development with fresh sod and mailboxes that still had the manufacturer stickers on them. I parked on the street and waited. A guy about my age came out, waved, walked over. He was wearing a college t-shirt and cargo shorts. Wedding ring. Friendly smile. "You Chris?" he said. "Yeah, I'm Matt. Thanks for coming. It's just me and my wife, and we've got way more furniture than we thought." I followed him inside. The place smelled like paint and new carpet. Boxes everywhere. A woman, his wife, I assumed, was in the kitchen unpacking dishes. She smiled and waved. I waved back. Matt handed me a bottle of water and pointed at the truck in the driveway. "Most of it's already loaded. We just need help getting it inside and up the stairs. Shouldn't take more than a few hours." It took 3. We carried a couch, a dresser, 2 bookshelves, a bed frame, a dining table. Matt talked the whole time about the job he just started, the promotion his wife got, how they'd been looking for a place for 6 months and finally found this one. He talked like I was a person he was getting to know, not just labor he'd hired through an app. I didn't know how to tell him that made it worse. When we finished, he handed me $60 in cash and an extra 20. "You worked hard, man. Thanks." I took it, said thanks, walked back to my car, $80. 6 more than I'd expected, which meant I only needed 7 more by Friday. I sat in the driver's seat and counted the bills twice. Put them in my wallet. Checked my phone. Marcus had texted again. "I'm not mad. Just call me." I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I locked the screen, started the car, and drove back to the gym parking lot where I'd slept for 3 weeks and would sleep again tonight. I parked at the far end of the Walmart lot, under a light that flickered every few seconds like it was trying to decide whether to stay on. It was just after 8. The lot was half full, people coming and going, carts rattling, cars idling while someone ran in for one thing. I was in the back corner where the employees parked, where no one noticed if your car sat there all night. I ate dinner in the driver's seat. Dollar menu burrito from the Taco Bell I'd passed on the way. Still warm. I chewed slowly and stared at the Walmart entrance, watching people push carts to their cars, load up, drive away to houses I'd never see. The burrito was gone in 6 bites. I wadded up the wrapper and tossed it in the bag I used for trash, fast food bags, empty water bottles, receipts I didn't need. I'd empty it tomorrow at a gas station. For now, it sat on the floor of the passenger side, next to my laptop bag and the duffel with my clean shirts. I leaned back against the headrest and closed my eyes. Thought about the $80 in my wallet. Thought about the 7 I still needed. Thought about the storage unit and what would happen if I didn't pay by Friday. They'd auction it. Someone would buy the contents for $50. Boxes of supplements no one wanted. Promotional materials for businesses that didn't exist. And one box, small, taped shut, with Mia's drawings inside. Crayon pictures from when she was 6. Our family. A house with a red door. A son with a smiley face. I didn't want to think about that box. So I thought about the businesses instead. 9 of them. 9 different plans. 9 different ways I'd convinced myself this time would be different. Business number 1 was a food truck. 2009. I was 33, working an office job I hated, and I'd read somewhere that food trucks were the future. Low overhead. High margins. Freedom. I quit my job, bought a used truck for $18,000 with a loan I barely qualified for, and spent 3 months learning to cook. Tacos. Burritos. Quesadillas. I called it Rolling Kitchen. I lasted 6 months. The recession was in full swing. No one was buying $7 tacos. I parked outside office buildings at lunch and got maybe 10 customers a day. I couldn't cover the loan payments. Couldn't cover gas. Couldn't cover ingredients. I sold the truck for $12,000 and still owed 6. Business number 2 was house flipping. I partnered with a guy I'd met at a real estate seminar. Jerry, 50-something, said he'd done this before, said we'd make 6 figures on the first house. We bought a foreclosure for $70,000. Needed 40 in rehab. I put in 20. Jerry said he'd cover the rest. 2 months later, Jerry stopped answering his phone. The house sat half renovated. I couldn't afford to finish it. I walked away and lost my $20,000. Business number 3 was a consultancy. Business coaching for small companies. I made a website, printed business cards, ran ads, got 1 client. He paid me $500 for a 6-week engagement, then ghosted. I spent $3,000 on ads and made $500 total. Business number 4 was e-commerce. Dropshipping before I knew what dropshipping was. I built a site selling phone accessories. Spent $2,000 on Facebook ads. Got clicks. Got traffic. Got 0 sales. Closed the site after 4 months. Business number 5 was a vending machine route. I bought 6 machines for $9,000. Placed them in laundromats and gas stations. Restocked them every week. Made $200 a month. Lost money on gas and inventory. Sold the machines for $4,000 after a year. Business number 6 was an MLM. Health supplements. I signed up under a guy who said I'd make passive income. I bought inventory. Pitched it to friends. 2 of them bought in. The company collapsed 6 months later. My friends stopped talking to me. Business number 7 was online coaching. I made a course about entrepreneurship. Ran ads. Got 50 people to a webinar. 0 bought the course. Business number 8 was the juice bar. Business number 9 was the dropshipping site I was still pretending to run. Laptop open in library parking lots. Refreshing supplier pages. Watching profit margins disappear as shipping costs ate everything. I hadn't made a sale in 3 weeks that I opened my eyes and stared at the Walmart sign. Big blue letters. Always open. Always bright. .9 businesses. 13 years. I'd started the first one when I was 33. Now I was 42. I'd spent my 30s chasing something I couldn't name. Freedom, maybe. Proof I was smart. Proof I could build something. Proof I wasn't the kind of person who worked for someone else's whole life and retired with a watch and a handshake. But here I was. 42. Sleeping in my car. Picking up day labor jobs for $60. Eating dollar menu burritos in a Walmart parking lot that I'd lost count of how much money I'd burned through. Somewhere north of 100,000, maybe more. Loans. Credit cards. Savings. Jennifer's savings. My brother's money. All of it gone. All of it fed into businesses that didn't work, plans that didn't pan out, ideas that sounded good on paper, and collapsed the second they touched reality. The pattern was always the same. I'd spot an opportunity. Get excited. Do the research. Make a plan. Convince myself this was it. Drain whatever money I could find. Savings, credit, loans. Work 18-hour days. Drink too much coffee. Sleep too little. Tell myself the exhaustion meant I was doing it right. Then watch it fall apart. Slowly at first. A bad week. A slow month. Then faster. No customers. No revenue. No way forward. And every time, I'd tell myself I learned something. That failure was part of the process. That successful people failed more than unsuccessful people even tried. I'd read that in a book during business number 4. The Lean Startup or the 4-Hour Workweek, or one of those books that made failure sound noble. I'd underlined it. Believed it. Repeated it to Jennifer when she asked why I was doing this again. But sitting here now, in a Walmart parking lot, with $80 in my wallet and a storage unit I couldn't afford to keep, I didn't feel noble. I felt tired of starting over. Tired of pitching. Tired of pretending the next idea would be the one. Tired of being the guy who kept trying and kept failing and kept believing that meant something. Maybe it didn't mean anything. Maybe I was just bad at this. That was the thought I couldn't say out loud. Not to Marcus. Not to Jennifer. Not to Mia when she asked, 3 years ago, why I couldn't just get a normal job. I didn't have a good answer then. I still didn't. My phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. Marcus. Mom's worried. I'm worried. Just tell me you're okay. I stared at the text. Thought about calling him. Thought about what I'd say. I'm fine. I'm working on something. I'm between places. I'll figure it out. All lies. The truth was I didn't know if I was okay. The truth was I'd been not okay for so long I didn't remember what okay felt like. I locked the screen. Tossed the phone on the passenger seat. Leaned back. Closed my eyes. Tomorrow I'd find another job. Make another $60 or $70. Pay the storage unit by Friday. Keep the boxes I didn't need and couldn't use. Keep pretending I had a plan. But tonight, I just sat there in the Walmart parking lot, under a flickering light, and tried not to think about how many times I'd told myself the next one would be different. I woke Wednesday to an email I'd been expecting but hoping wouldn't come. Final notice. Unit 247 past due. Auction scheduled. The storage facility wanted $261. 3 months at $87 each. If I didn't pay by Friday at 5 p.m., they'd auction the contents Saturday morning. I sat up in the car, neck stiff, and read the email twice. Then I opened my bank app. $340. Minus the $60 I needed for gas. Minus food. The math didn't work unless I stopped eating. And I'd already skipped dinner twice this week. I started the car and drove to the facility anyway. It was a squat building on the east side. Orange doors and long rows, security fence around the perimeter. I parked outside the gate and watched through the chain link as a worker in a blue polo walked the aisles with a tablet, photographing units for the auction listing that I knew I couldn't pay. Knew I should drive away. But I sat there watching him open doors, snap photos, move to the next one. When he got to my row, I leaned forward. Unit 247. My lock's still on it. He snapped a photo of the number, then moved on. Inside that unit were boxes I hadn't opened in 8 months. Supplements from business number 7. 500 units of a fat burner that didn't burn fat. Returns from the dropshipping disaster. Phone cases no one wanted. Promotional t-shirts for the juice bar with the logo I'd designed myself. Business cards from the consultancy. A folding table from the vending machine days. All garbage. All evidence I should have thrown away. But there was one box I couldn't stop thinking about. Small. Taped shut. Sharp a label that said Mia's things. Jennifer couldn't fit it in the car when she left. Drawings Mia had made when she was 6. Crayon pictures of our family. A house with a red door. 3 stick figures holding hands. A son with a smiley face in the corner that I'd packed that box telling myself I'd get a new place soon. Hang the drawings on the fridge like before. Show Mia I still had them. Now someone else would buy the unit for $50. Throw everything away, including that box that I watched the worker finish his route and disappear into the office. Check my phone. No new jobs posted on the app. I closed my eyes and did the math again. $261 for the unit. $80 in my wallet from yesterday. $340 in checking. Even if I worked every day, I'd come up short. The unit was already gone. I just hadn't admitted it yet. I opened my browser and typed Tulsa Casino into the search bar, stared at the screen, closed the browser, opened it again. I spent Wednesday afternoon moving furniture for a young couple in a townhouse that smelled like fresh paint. For hours, $60 cash. They talked the whole time about their jobs, their lease. How excited they were to finally have a place that felt like theirs. I carried their couch up a flight of stairs and thought about how I used to talk like that. Back when Jennifer and I moved into our first apartment. Back when I believed having a place meant you'd figured something out. When we finished, the guy, Matt, maybe 30, wedding ring, college t-shirt, handed me 3 20s and said, "You worked hard. Man, thanks." Then he pulled another 20 from his wallet. "For real. You made this easy." I took it. 80 total. More than I'd expected. I sat in my car outside a Sonic, counted the bills twice, and opened my banking app. Deposited 60 through the mobile check feature, kept 20 as cash. New balance. For $100 even. I needed $261 by Friday, which meant I needed $261 more in 2 days. I could do it. 2 more jobs like today. Maybe 3 smaller ones. If I didn't eat much. If nothing went wrong. But sitting there in the Sonic parking lot, staring at my phone, I thought about casinos, not as a business this time. I'd thought about casino businesses before. Back during business number 6, I'd researched vending machines for casino floors, decided the margins were too thin. This was different. This was the idea that I could walk in with $100 and walk out with $500. That the math was simple. That the outcome was immediate. That I could blame the cards instead of myself if it didn't work. That I'd never been a gambler. The businesses were gambles enough. But I was tired of slow failure. Tired of working all day for $60. Tired of math that barely added up. Fast failure sounded almost appealing. I Googled Riverwind Casino. 40 minutes south. Blackjack tables. Poker. Slots. The website said they had RV parking, which meant they probably didn't care if people slept in cars. I scrolled through images. Bright lights. People smiling at slot machines. Dealers in vests standing behind green felt tables. I remembered a guy I worked with 10 years ago, Dave. IT department, quiet guy, who'd told me once he won $3,000 at blackjack on a weekend trip. Walked in with 200. Played for 6 hours. Left with 3,000. I'd thought he was exaggerating. Now I wondered if he wasn't. I closed the browser. Opened it again. Searched blackjack basic strategy. Read for 20 minutes. Hit on 16. Stand on 17. Double down on 11. It wasn't complicated. It was math. Odds. Probabilities. I could do math. I put the phone down. Started the car. Sat there with my hands on the wheel. Told myself I'd just drive past. See what it looked like. Maybe play $50. Just to clear my head. I pulled onto the highway heading south. The parking lot was massive. Rows and rows of cars under lights that buzzed in the late afternoon heat. I parked near the back, away from the entrance, and sat there staring at the building. Riverwind Casino. Big letters. Neon. Glass doors. People walking in and out like it was normal. I told myself I was just looking. Killing time before finding a place to sleep. Inside, the air was cold and smelled like carpet cleaner and something sweet I couldn't place. Slot machines beeped and chimed. Lights flashed. Music played from invisible speakers, soft jazz, or something close to IT. It was 2:30 on a Thursday. The place was half empty. Retirees at the slots. A few serious-looking people at the poker tables in the back. No one looked at me. I walked to the cashier and exchanged $50 for chips. Red ones. 5 each. The blackjack tables were near the center. I picked one with an older woman dealing. Name tag said Gloria, and sat down. She smiled. Welcome. First time. Been a while? I said. She dealt. I won the first hand. Then the second. Then the third. Gloria said, You've got good instincts. I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Competence. Control. Like I knew what I was doing. I doubled my stake in 40 minutes. $100 in chips. Then I lost 3 hands in a row. Then 4. Then I was back to 50. I went to the ATM and pulled out 100. Checked my balance. 290 remaining. Told myself this was the limit. 100. That's it. I lost it in 30 minutes. Switched to dollar slots because they lasted longer. Fed them 20s. Watched the numbers drop. At some point it was 9 p.m. and I realized I hadn't eaten since the burrito last night. My hands were shaking. I'd gone through $180. I had $190 left in checking. That was supposed to last me until the storage unit payment. Until the next job. Until something changed. I sat at a slot machine pressing buttons and thought about walking out. Then an older man sat down next to me. Salt and pepper hair. Rolex on his wrist. Expensive watch, though it might have been fake. He glanced at my machine, then at me, and smiled. Rough night. I nodded. You play poker? I looked at him. Used to. Used to doesn't count, he said. Real poker. Upstairs. Just a few guys. Friendly stakes. I should have said no, but I didn't. His name was Danny. Late 60s. Easy smile. The kind of guy who made you feel like you'd known him for years within 10 minutes. He bought me a drink at the bar. Vodka soda. Then another. You look like you used to do something else, he said. Before this. I had businesses, I said. Few of them. What kind? I told him. Food truck. Flipping houses. Consultancy. He nodded like he understood. I respect that, he said. Most people don't have the guts to try. It was the first time in months someone had said something like that. Most people, Jennifer, Marcus, even strangers, looked at me like I'd made bad choices. Danny looked at me like I'd made brave ones. That we talked for an hour. He told me he'd been in real estate. Made money. Lost money. Made it again. Said the key was knowing when to walk away, but also knowing when to double down. He added he asked if I played poker. I said I used to. Weekly game with guys from the office. Back when I had an office to go to. Back when I had a house and a mortgage and a wife who didn't look at me like I was drowning. Danny laughed. That's not real poker. Real poker is reading people. Knowing when they're bluffing. Knowing when you've got them. He leaned closer. I'm heading to a game upstairs. Few guys I know. Friendly. 200 buy-in. You interested? I had 190 in my checking account. I've only got 190, I said. Danny waved his hand. I'll spot you the 10. You'll pay me back when you win. I should have walked away. Should have recognized the setup. The drinks. The flattery. The easy friendship. But I was tired. Lonely. Desperate to feel like I was good at something. And Danny made it sound so simple. Room 347, he said, standing. I'll introduce you to the guys. I followed him to the elevator. The room smelled like cigarettes and cologne. 5 men sat around a folding table covered in green felt. Chips stacked in front of them. Cards in the center. Danny introduced me. This is Chris. Old friend. They nodded. Didn't ask questions. 2 younger guys in their 30s. An older man who didn't speak. A middle-aged guy in a golf shirt who seemed to know Danny well. I sat down. Counted out $200. $190 from my wallet. 10. Danny slid across the table. We'll settle up after you win, Danny said, winking. The first hour went well. I played tight. Folded more than I bet. Won 2 small pots. It felt good. Felt like I remembered something I'd forgotten. The other players were loose. Aggressive. Readable. For 20 minutes. I felt like the person I used to be. Competent. Strategic. In control. Then I got dealt pocket aces. I went all in on the flop. Big bet. Confident point, one of the younger guys called. Suited connector. The turn came. Then the river. Straight that I stared at the board. Stared at my cards. They were still aces, but the pot slid away. Danny leaned over. Don't worry. I've got you. He slid another stack across the table. I lost that buy-in in 30 minutes. Then another. By 2 a.m. I'd lost $1,100 of Danny's money. The game broke up. The other players left without looking at me. Danny put his hand on my shoulder. Let's talk outside. The parking lot was quiet. Just us and the hum of the casino lights. Danny counted my losses on his phone. 1,100. I nodded. Couldn't speak. I'll give you a week, he said. Come up with half. 550. We'll call it even for now. And if I can't? He smiled. Not mean. Just tired. Guys like you always figure it out. I wanted to ask what he meant. Wanted to know what happened if I didn't figure it out. But I already knew. 1 week, he said. Don't make me wait. He walked to his car, a black Lexus, and drove away. I stood there under the flickering lights, watching his taillights disappear. Then I got in my car and sat there until dawn. I didn't sleep. I ran numbers in my head. 1,100 total. He wanted 550 in a week. I had $10 in my wallet. 300 in checking after tonight's losses. Wait, no. I'd pulled cash at the casino. I checked my app, 190. I'd burned through $210 in 6 hours. And now I owed Danny 1,100. I thought about calling Marcus, asking for money. But I couldn't. Not again. I thought about driving to Oregon, showing up at Jennifer's door. But I didn't have gas money. I thought about disappearing. Just driving until the car ran out of gas and walking into the woods at 6 a.m. I opened the day labor app, 12 new jobs posted. I accepted every one I could. The next 5 days were the hardest I'd ever worked. Day 1. Moving furniture, 6 hours, $60. Unloading a truck, 4 hours, $50. Day 2. Cleaning a foreclosed house, 8 hours, $85. Digging a trench for a sprinkler line, 3 hours, $45. Day 3. Hauling trash, 10 hours, $90. I worked until my hands blistered. Until my back ached so bad I couldn't straighten up. I ate 1 meal a day, whatever was cheapest. Gas station hot dogs. Dollar menu. I skipped showers. Slept 3 hours a night. By Friday, I had $340. I texted Danny. I've got 300. Can we meet? He replied immediately. Parking lot. 20 minutes. Don't make me wait. I drove back to Riverwind. Hands shaking. Pulled into the same spot I'd parked 5 days ago. Danny was waiting, leaning against his Lexus. I handed him 300 in cash. 20s. 10s. 5s. He counted it slowly. Folded it into his jacket. 2 more weeks, he said. 800. After that, we'll need to have a different kind of conversation. What does that mean? He smiled. Guys like you always figure it out. He got in his car and drove away. I stood there alone in the parking lot, watching the sun come up, and realized I'd just bought myself 14 days to become someone I'd never been. Reliable. The next 2 weeks became a blur of pain and precision. I stopped thinking about businesses. Stopped checking email. Stopped pretending I had a plan beyond making $800 before Danny came looking for me. I woke every morning at 5. Checked the day labor app before my eyes fully opened. Accepted every job within 20 miles. Moving furniture. Hauling trash. Cleaning gutters. Pressure washing driveways in heat that made my shirt stick to my back. Digging ditches. Unloading trucks. Demolition work where I swung a sledgehammer until my shoulders burned. Jobs that paid 60, 70, 55, 80. I took them all. I stopped showering daily. Too tired. It took energy I needed for work. I'd go 2 days, sometimes 3, then force myself into the gym at midnight when no one else was there. Stand under the water until I could think clearly enough to do math. $800. Minus what I made today, divided by days remaining. The numbers got smaller, but never small enough. I lost 12 pounds in 2 weeks. Ate 1 meal a day, sometimes less. Gas station coffee for breakfast. Dollar menu burger for dinner. Some days, just the coffee. My hands blistered, then calloused. My back ached constantly, a knot between my shoulder blades that never loosened. I'd lie in the car at night, trying to find a position that didn't hurt, and failed. On day 9, I drove past the storage facility. Saw unit 247 with the door open. Empty. Someone had bought it at auction. Probably threw everything away. I felt nothing. The supplements. The inventory. The promotional materials. All garbage anyway. But Mia's drawings were in there. The box I'd taped shut. The crayon pictures of our family. I kept driving. On day 12, Mia turned 10. I stopped at a Walgreens and stood in the card aisle for 20 minutes. Picked one with a cartoon cake on the front. Wrote inside, "Happy birthday. I love you. I'm sorry I can't be there." Dottie pulled a 20 from my wallet. All I could spare. Slid it inside the card. Addressed the envelope to Jennifer's sister's place in Oregon. Bought a stamp. Mailed it at the post office. That didn't call. Couldn't. Didn't know what I'd say. "Happy birthday, honey. Daddy's living in his car and owes money to a loan shark. But I sent you $20, so that makes it okay." I sat in the post office parking lot afterward and cried for the first time in 6 months. Then I opened the app and accepted another job.by day 13. I had $780. I counted it 3 times. 20s and 10s and 5s rubber banded together in my glove box. 20 short that I took a last-minute job on day 14. Moving office furniture for a startup that was downsizing. For hours. $40 cash. The guy who hired me looked younger than Mia. Maybe 23. Skinny. Graphic tee. He apologized for not having more work. "Budget cuts," he said. "You know how it is." I didn't tell him I'd had 9 budget cuts in 13 years. That I finished at 6 p.m. He handed me 2 20s. I walked to my car, sat behind the wheel, and counted everything in the glove box. 800 exactly. I texted Danny. "I have it. Where do you want to meet?" He replied 5 minutes later. "Casino. Back lot. 9 p.m. I had 3 hours. I drove to the gym. Showered for the first time in 4 days. Shaved. Put on my cleanest shirt. I wanted to look like someone who kept promises, even if I didn't feel like it. I arrived at 9:05. Danny was already there, leaning against his Lexus under a light that buzzed and flickered. I parked next to him. Got out. Held the grocery bag with $800 inside. He took it without a word. Opened his car door. Turned on the dome light. Sat in the driver's seat and counted every bill. I stood outside his window and waited. He counted slowly. Deliberately. Making me watch. When he finished, he folded the cash and put it in his jacket. Looked at me for a long moment. "You've got more heart than sense," he said. I didn't know if that was a compliment. "Most guys like you just run," he continued. "They ghost me. Change their number. Leave town. But you showed up. Twice." He reached into his console and pulled out a business card. Blank white. Just a phone number printed in small black text. "You ever need work? Real work, call me." I took the card. Didn't ask what kind of work. Didn't want to know. "You're reliable," Danny said. "That's rare." He started his car. I stepped back. Watched him drive away. The parking lot was quiet. Just me and the hum of the casino in the distance. I looked at the card in my hand. Turned it over. Nothing on the back. I put it in my wallet behind my ID. Told myself I'd never called. Wasn't sure if that was true. I got back in my car and sat there for a long time. The debt was paid. I didn't know Danny anything. But I didn't feel relieved. I felt empty. I'd worked 14 days straight. Burned my body down to nothing. Skipped meals. Skipped showers. Sent my daughter $20 on her birthday because that's all I could spare. For what? To pay off a debt I'd created in 4 hours of stupidity. To prove I wasn't the kind of guy who showed Danny, a man I'd never see again, that I kept my word. I leaned back against the headrest and closed my eyes. My phone buzzed. Marcus. I stared at the screen. 3 missed calls over the past 2 weeks. 5 texts I hadn't opened. I unlocked the phone. Read the most recent message. I'm not mad. Just call me. I almost did. Almost pressed the call button. Almost told him everything. But I didn't know where to start. I locked the screen. Put the phone in the cup holder, started the car, and drove back to the Walmart parking lot where I'd sleep tonight. Tomorrow I'd figure out what came next. I called Marcus the next morning. Sitting in the gym parking lot. Coffee from a gas station in the cup holder. Hands shaking slightly. He answered on the second ring. "Chris." Not a question. Just my name. Like he'd been waiting. "Hey," I said. Silence. Long enough that I almost hung up. "Are you okay?" He asked. I wanted to say yes. Wanted to lie like I'd been lying for months. But the word wouldn't come. "I'm working," I said instead. "Picking up jobs. Staying with a friend." "What friend?" I didn't answer. "Chris, where are you living?" More silence. I watched a woman walk into the gym. Young. Gym bag over her shoulder. Normal life. "I'm between places," I said. "Between places," Marcus repeated. Flat. Not believing me. "Yeah." I saw you at the Kroger lot. 2 in the morning. You were asleep in your car. My throat tightened. How long? He asked. Not long. How long, Chris? A month. Maybe more. He exhaled. Long and slow. Jesus Christ. I'm fine, I said. I'm working. I'm figuring it out. You're not fine. You're living in your car. I've got a plan. Stop. His voice was sharp. Not angry. Tired. Just stop. I stopped. I got you an interview, he said. Marcus, warehouse job. My buddy's company. Starts next month. 18 an hour. Benefits after 90 days. I wanted to say I didn't need charity. Wanted to explain I was working on something. Wanted to defend the person I used to be. Just show up, Marcus said. That's all you have to do. Show up and don't fuck it up. My voice cracked. I don't know if I can. You can. You just have to stop thinking you're supposed to be something else. I closed my eyes, felt tears coming, and tried to hold them back. Thank you, I whispered. Interviews in 3 weeks, Marcus said. I'll text you the details. You need money. No. Chris, I'm okay. I have enough. Another long silence. Call Mom, he said. She's worried. I will. You won't. But you should. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone, staring at the screen. 3 weeks. An interview. A warehouse job. $18 an hour. Benefits after 90 days. IT wasn't a business. Wasn't entrepreneurship. Wasn't freedom. IT was just a job. The kind I used to think was beneath me. Now it felt like a life raft. I drove past the storage facility one last time. Didn't plan to. Just ended up there. The gate was open. I pulled in and parked near the office. Unit 247 was in the back row. I walked to it. Stood outside. New lock. Silver. Not mine. Someone else owned it now. Bought the contents for $50 at auction. Probably threw everything away the same day. I tried to remember what was inside that mattered. The supplements. 500 units. Garbage. The phone cases. Returns from customers who didn't want them. Garbage. The promotional t-shirts with the juice bar logo. Garbage. Business cards from the consultancy. Garbage. But there was one box. Small. Taped shut. Label in Sharpie. Mia's things. Jennifer couldn't fit it in the car when she left. Couldn't take everything. So I'd said I'd keep it. Said I'd get a new place soon and hang the drawings on the fridge. Inside were crayon pictures Mia made when she was 6. Our family. 3 stick figures holding hands. A house with a red door. A tree with apples. A sun with a smiley face. She'd written our names at the bottom in wobbly letters. Mommy. Daddy. I'd packed that box thinking I'd see it again. Thinking I'd have a place to put it. Now it was gone. Someone bought it. Opened it. Saw a kid's drawings. Threw them in a dumpster. I stood outside the unit and tried to feel something. Anger. Sadness. Loss. But I just felt tired. The drawings weren't the point. The point was I'd had them and I'd lost them. Just like I'd lost everything else. I walked back to my car. Got in. Sat there. My phone buzzed. Jennifer. I stared at her name on the screen. We hadn't texted in 6 weeks. Not since she'd asked if I was eating, and I'd said yes. I opened the message. Mia got your card. She wants to talk to you. Call her. I stared at the words. Read them 3 times. She wants to talk to you. I looked at the clock. 10:30 a.m. West Coast time meant 8:30. Mia would be awake. Probably getting ready for school. I should call. Should tell her happy birthday. Should hear her voice. But I didn't know what I'd say. Happy birthday, honey. Daddy lost your drawings. Daddy's living in his car. Daddy gambled away money he didn't have and spent 2 weeks digging ditches to pay it back. I locked the screen. Drove to a McDonald's parking lot. Sat there for 40 minutes. Rehearsing what I'd say. Then I called. Mia answered on the 3rd ring. Hello. Her voice sounded older. Not by much, but enough that I noticed. Hey, sweetheart. It's Dad. Hi, Dad. Silence. Not awkward. Just careful. Like she was waiting to see what kind of call this would be. Happy birthday, I said. I'm sorry I'm late. It's okay. I got your card. Thanks for the $20. I wish I could have sent more. It's okay, she said again. More silence. I watched a family walk into the McDonald's. Mom, Dad, 2 kids. The kids were laughing. How was your birthday? I asked. Good. Aunt Sarah made a cake. Mom got me a bike. That's great. What color? Purple. I smiled. Your favorite? Yeah. I heard voices in the background. Jennifer saying something I couldn't make out. Where are you? Mia asked. My chest tightened. I'm working. Picking up jobs. Do you have a house? I could have lied. Could have said I was staying with a friend. Between apartments. Figuring things out. But I was tired of lying to her. No, I said. I don't. Silence. Long enough that I thought she'd hung up. Are you living in your car? She asked. Her voice was so small. So careful. Like she already knew the answer and was just giving me permission to say it. Yeah, I said. I am. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart. I made some mistakes. I'm working on fixing them. It's okay, Dad. But her voice said it wasn't okay. Her voice said she'd been hoping I'd say something different. I miss you, I said. I miss you too. I'm going to come visit. As soon as I can. As soon as I have things figured out. Okay, I promise. Another silence. Then, Mom says promises are only good if you keep them. The words hit like a fist. She's right, I said. I'm going to keep this one. Okay, Dad. I heard Jennifer's voice again. Closer now. Mia said, I have to go. School. Okay. I love you. Love you too. She hung up that I sat in the McDonald's parking lot, phone in my hand, and cried. Not because she was angry. She wasn't. Because she sounded like she'd already accepted I wouldn't keep my promise. Like she'd been trained not to expect too much at a knock on my window. I looked up that McDonald's manager. Middle-aged guy. Concerned expression. You okay, sir? I nodded. Wiped my face. You need to buy something or move along, he said. Not mean. Just policy. Yeah. Sorry. I started the car and left. 3 weeks later, I drove to the warehouse for my interview. I'd worked 12 more day labor jobs in that time. Made enough to buy a week's worth of real meals. Got my car's oil changed. Bought a new shirt at Goodwill, button down, light gray, no fraying. The warehouse was on the industrial side of town. Big metal building. Loading docks. Trucks backed up to bays that I parked in the visitor lot. Checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. Shaved. Showered. Hair combed. I looked almost normal. I'd printed my resume at the library. 1 page. 9 businesses listed. 0 warehouse experience. I walked inside. Told the receptionist I had an interview with Derek. She called him. He came out 2 minutes later. Derek was maybe 40. Jeans and a company polo. Clipboard in hand. He shook my hand. You're Marcus's brother? Yeah. Come on back. We walked through the warehouse. Forklifts moving. Workers in safety vests. Boxes stacked to the ceiling. It smelled like cardboard and diesel. His office was small. Desk. 2 chairs. Window overlooking the floor. He gestured to a chair. Saturday, he looked at my resume for maybe 10 seconds. Marcus says you show up and work hard. Derek said. That true? Yes. You ever run a forklift? No. But I can learn. He nodded. Set the resume down. Job 6 a.m. to 2:30. Monday through Friday. 18 an hour. Benefits after 90 days. You late more than twice in the first month, you're fired. Understood? Yes. You start Monday. I blinked. That's it. That's it. Marcus vouched for you. Don't make him look bad. He stood. Shook my hand again. Welcome aboard. I walked out of the warehouse in a dazed 4-minute interview. No questions about the businesses. No questions about why I wanted the job. No pitch. No sell. Just show up. Work hard. Don't be late. I sat in my car and stared at the building. For the first time in 10 years, I had a job I didn't have to convince anyone to give me. I just had to show up. Monday morning, I arrived at 5:40. 20 minutes early, Derek met me at the entrance. Gave me a safety vest, gloves, and a time card. Punch in. Punch out. Don't forget, or we can't pay you. I punched in. The work was simple. Unload trucks. Sort boxes by label. Stack them on pallets. Move pallets with a hand jack. Derek spent 2 hours training me. Showed me how to read labels. How to stack without crushing boxes. How to use the jack without tipping the load. You'll run a forklift in a few weeks, he said. But start here. I worked next to a guy named Luis. Early 50s. Didn't talk much. Just worked. We unloaded 3 trucks by lunch. Lunch was 30 minutes. I ate in my car. Sandwich I'd made that morning. Chips. Water. Luis sat in his truck 2 spots over. We nodded at each other. Afternoon was more of the same. Unload. Sort. Stack. Moved at AT 2:30. Derek came by. Good work today. See you tomorrow. I punched out 8.5 hours. 18 an hour. $153. I sat in my car and stared at the time card. It was the most money I'd made in a single day in 6 months. And I didn't have to pitch anyone. Didn't have to convince anyone. Didn't have to pretend to be someone I wasn't. I just showed up. Did the work. Left. The rest of the week was the same. Show up. Work. Leave. By Friday I was sore. Back aching. Hands calloused. But I'd worked 5 full days. Derek handed me my first paycheck at the end of my shift. Direct deposit starts next week, he said. This one's paper. I opened it in my car. $720 after taxes. I stared at the number. Read it 3 times. It was honest money. Earned by showing up. By doing what I was told. By not trying to be the smartest person in the room. I drove past River Wind Casino on the way to the Walmart parking lot. Didn't feel tempted. Just felt tired. I kept working. Week 2. Week 3. Showed up early every day. Never late. Did what Derek asked. He trained me on the forklift. Gave me a certification test. I passed. Luis and I started talking at lunch. Small stuff. Weather. Weekend plans. He had a wife. 3 kids. Worked here for 12 years. Steady work, he said. Not exciting, but steady. I thought about the 9 businesses. The pitches. The plans. The excitement of starting something new. None of it had been steady. On Friday of week 3, I deposited my 3rd paycheck. $2,000 total in 3 weeks. I opened my banking app. Balance. $2,143. Enough for a security deposit. First month's rent. Enough to stop sleeping in my car. But I didn't look for apartments yet. I was afraid I'd screw it up. That night I parked outside the gym. Sat with the windows down. Listened to the highway. My phone buzzed. Marcus. How's the job? I typed back. Good. Thanks for this. You keeping it? Yeah. Good. Proud of you. I stared at the message. Didn't know what to say. I just typed. Thanks. I thought about calling Mia. Telling her I had a job. That I was working on getting a place. That I'd come visit soon. But I wanted to wait until I had something real to show her. Not just promises. I closed my eyes and thought about Danny. The blank business card in my wallet. The one with just a phone number. I pulled it out. Looked at it. Thought about the older guy at the slots. The way he grinned and said, "This is my rent money," like it was a joke we were. Both in on. I wondered if he ever made it home that night. Wondered if he ever even had a home to go back to. Or if he was just like me. Another guy who'd confused motion with progress. Who'd mistaken the next hand for a fresh start. Who'd lost count of how many times he'd already failed. I got out of the car. Walked to the gas station across the street. Threw the card in the trash. Got back in the car. Tomorrow, I'd work another shift. Make another $153. Get a little closer to steady. It wasn't. The 10th business that made me a millionaire. It was the realization that maybe I'd been gambling. Long before I sat down at that table. And the only way to win was to stop playing. I closed my eyes. Listened to the highway. And for the first time in 13 years, I didn't think about what came next. I just thought about showing up tomorrow. That was enough.